Can I record?
All right. So we have another great interview on Serious and Silliness tonight. Amber Deluca, former bodybuilder, now strong woman and goddess of fetish.
That's right.
How you doing, Amber?
Thanks. I'm great, John. Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course, definitely. Are you kidding? I love having the women on because it's so much more interesting to
Thanks.
me.
I've been watching your interviews for the past few weeks, and I noticed you've had a lot of my colleagues on, my peers.
That means a lot to me. That I'm starting to. It really truly does, because it's like a constant grind. I mean, I like doing it. I love doing it. It's a constant grind. I really do, and I love talking to interesting people like yourself.
Thanks.
But it means a lot. So, which ones did you watch, if you don't mind me asking?
I saw Brandy May.
That was a good one.
She's a good friend of mine. We've done some filming together in the past when I used to live in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
I lived in Las Vegas from 2009 to about 2012.
Okay.
And we did some filming up there together. As you know, the bodybuilding industry is very small, and the female bodybuilding industry is even smaller yet.
Yeah, that's right.
So Brandy, and I saw the other gal, what is her name? Big boob girl. I think we all are.
But, Nikki Jackson or Alicia
Nikki Jackson.
Young?
Yeah. I can't believe I said that.
Yeah, no, it's okay. And it's by design, because if you have a big booty, I really can't do much for you. And a layout like this, but if you have giant boobs, then everybody.
That's right.
So a couple of announcements before we get started.
Sure.
Okay, we were talking about this right before we started recording. I have been given an opportunity from Ron Harris and Muscular Development. My panel show or roundtable discussion, whatever you want to call it, with me and Jason Arns and several other bodybuilders, will now be on Muscular Development twice a month.
Wow. Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. And it will be called MD Muscle Talk, and it'll be every other Thursday.
Okay.
So
I'll make a note of that.
Yeah, thank you very much. And it's going to be every other Thursday, twice a month, and it will be me, Jason Arns, and then I'm going to have recurring people on, like, in and out cycling people. But the majority of the guys are going to be Nate Spear, Carlos Thomas Jr., Dom Trivellini, and then I'm going to have special guests. Like last week, I had Nick Walker.
Wow, that's great.
And this week coming up, I'm going to have another special guest, so it'll be pretty interesting. And then the other announcement I have to make is on November 5th, I will be at the East Coast, which is in Wayne, New Jersey. It's one of the biggest NPC shows in New Jersey, and I will have a booth there, Serious and Silliness. So it is in Wayne at, let me see, I believe it is a school. It always is. It's always a fucking school. And then we're going to get into Amber Deluca. So let's see, give me 1 second. And let's see, it is at November 5th, Passaic County Technical Institute, 43 Reinhardt, Wayne, New Jersey, the NPC East Coast. And that's a big show in New Jersey. Okay, now on to you, my special guest. All right, Amber. So you were a former bodybuilder.
That's right.
And you won the USAs.
Well, the Mid-USAs, which occurred in Albuquerque, New Mexico, I started out as a Ms. America, a NABA figure champion.
Oh, wow.
2001. And then I landed a photo shoot with Bill Dobbins in 2001 and 2002. And he told me, as he's looking at me through his lens, he said, Amber, why don't you just do bodybuilding? And I said, hey, great idea, Bill. Why don't I? So I'm always one to take recommendations from people like Bill. Mm-hmm. So I started competing in bodybuilding here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I reside. And I won my first show. Mm-hmm. I came in as a heavyweight, about 170, with very little training. And I won. And I was qualified for nationals. I actually competed in nationals that year, but I placed pretty low, as most people do their first outing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know how it is.
Oh yeah.
So I competed at the national level for a few years. I competed all the way up to 2005 and 6. I did masters in 2006. But I think I achieved one of my best conditions bodybuilding wise between 2005 and 2006. I did nationals. The highest I placed was 13th at NPC Nationals in Florida, in Miami. And then in nationals, masters nationals, I competed in 06. That was my last bodybuilding show. Okay. And then after that, I went on to Europe. I traveled over to Europe and lived with an IFBB pro, Saskia Salamink. She's from the Netherlands, where the Julia Bergman's from, the Ms. Olympia of the early 2000s, and even back in the early 80s, she competed. But I lived with a female bodybuilder. And then when I came back, I was kind of at at a loss at what I would do. I was thinking, should I compete in bodybuilding or should I do something else?
Now, what made you, I don't mean to cut you off, what made you go to Europe with this IFBB program?
I had started, actually, I started session wrestling back in, oh my gosh, what year did I start? Probably in 2003, right about the time I started bodybuilding. And I was profiled by a lot of companies, European companies, Athena Wrestling, a bunch of other companies locally. Denise Messino was wanting to shoot with me. But at the time, I was still working for the federal government, so I really couldn't do any of that. So that was kind of taboo. It was hard enough to be a bodybuilder working for the government, much less trying to do some sort of wrestling or femdom type stuff.
Yeah.
So I decided to resign my position in September of 2007. Take that back, it was 2006, I believe. And then I met Saskia at the the US Days in July every year in Las Vegas. I met Saskia and she invited me to live over in the Netherlands with her and train as a bodybuilder full time. I said, I've always wanted to do that. So I had already resigned my position, moved over to the Netherlands, and I dipped my toe in the water more full time in traveling and doing session wrestling and that kind of thing. When I first started out, I thought women can make money doing this, wrestling guys in like hotel rooms. I thought I don't know about that. I thought, this is kind of strange. This has got to be
it is
weird.
It's like opening Pandora's box.
Exactly. And so my husband at the time, he showed me some wrestling moves and some jiu-jitsu things. And I had taken some wrestling classes in college to complete my major. And I was actually pretty decent session wrestler, not session wrestler at the time, but like intercollegiate style. So I had a kind of a good background to start and a little bit of jiu-jitsu. So then all hell broke loose. And I started actually doing more videos and that kind of thing. And right around 2007, I made the transition into doing this myself because I noticed a lot of these companies were featuring me on their websites, and they still do. I still have like big banners on certain websites that are people that are out there that have featured me. So I thought, well, you know what? I should try to do this on my own. So what I did was I just started self-filming fans, friends, clients, and I started just learning how to do different things in the industry, wrestling, different moves. And then the bug hit me, the strength bug hit me. This was right around 2008 when I got back from the Netherlands. I only lived over there for about 6 months, not quite a year. When I came back, I was kind of not sure what I would do next. And then I moved to Las Vegas. I was dating a doctor friend of mine. And so we hung out and started training together. And I thought, what would it be like if I were to just focus on strength training and just try to get as strong as I possibly can? No holds barred, just train and stay home and train. So I did that. And I started to develop some strength. And I remember when I went to the first strength training gym, I used to train at LBAC a lot, which is like the 24-hour fitnesses and everything. But I went to a strength training gym and the coach there, his name was Mark Filippi. He said, what do you want to do? What are your goals? I said, well, to be honest with you, I really want to learn how to press people overhead a little bit better than I do right now. He said, what? He said, why? It's almost like asking a mountain climber, why do you want to climb that mountain? Because it's there. I used to rock climb many, many years ago too, but it's just for the sheer love and joy of doing something. And that's what I really enjoyed about strength. It was just strength for strength's sake, So the very first time I ever learned how to overhead press somebody, I was deeply inspired by a strong woman by the name of Aneta Florczyk. She's a Polish strong woman, and she won World's Strongest Woman a couple times. And I watched her. She got the Guinness Book of World Record of pressing people overhead. These guys were probably about 65, 70 kilos. That's about 140-ish pounds or so. And she was magnificent. She pressed like 14 or 15 people overhead in a 90-second time limit. So I said, I want to learn how to do that. So I basically taught myself. I'm self-taught in a lot of things. I pretty much study YouTube and I teach myself how to do things. So I watched her technique and her form, and I figured out how to do it. And I pressed a good friend of mine from Boston. He was one of my best models. And in 2009, I learned how to press him overhead. He met me in New York City, and I said, hey, let's do this, Fo. His name is Photius, a Greek guy. And so I overhead pressed him, and then I put it on YouTube, and I had like some techno track, and it was pretty decent. And I noticed about 6 months later, it had 250,000 hits. I thought $250,000, that's pretty good. I think I'm doing something right. I figured this is going to be a great segue into my fetish work. Rather than just doing session, wrestling type stuff, Femdom type stuff, I started doing lift and carry, which most female bodybuilders hate. Most session wrestler girls hate doing lift and carry because it's the barrier to entry to this kind of thing is very, very high because first of all, lifting a human body overhead is no easy thing to do. And you have to have special technique and form and the confidence to be able to do it. So I started doing that and started developing my strength even more. And then I started competing in strong women around 2010, 2011. And I placed fourth in the North America's Strongest Woman competition. I competed with some of the top women in the United States. And the rest is history. So I focused pretty much after that on my productions. And that's kind of where I hang my hat, so to speak,
Okay. So you said a lot there. And I'm gonna back up a little bit. I'm gonna try and dissect it and ask you some specific questions, if that's okay.
Of course.
All right. So you were competing in bodybuilding.
Yep.
And you had a federal job.
Sure.
And what kind of job? What kind of job was that?
I worked in human resources. I was like a mid-level manager. We were the liaison for education for all of the federally funded Indian schools in the United States. So it was a pretty good job. It was a great career, actually. And I really had to make a decision. I just bought my house here in Albuquerque way back in, it was in 2004. And for me to have progressed into my career field even further, I probably would have had to move to Washington, D.C., which at the time I just really wasn't into moving because I had just started competing in bodybuilding. I just started, filming and things like that. I just said, no, I think I just want to stay home. And I was burning the candle at both ends. So I finally
hold on.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you say Indian, you mean Native American?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
I'm Omaha.
You didn't want to move, but you moved to the Netherlands.
Well, I knew that was a temporary gig. I knew that wasn't going to be a full-time gig. And
that's
plus,
a big move, though.
Yeah, well, it was a big move.
For somebody who said, I just want to stay home, moving to the other side of the planet is not necessarily staying home.
There's a difference between working in a cubicle, being a slave to the government, so to speak, versus pursuing your dreams and traveling. And I've always wanted to travel into Europe. And I always wanted to work for myself. And I just really didn't know what that would look like. So it was a big leap. I'll tell you that. It was a very big leap. And in fact, it took me a while to resign my position. It probably took me 2 or 3 years to think about it because, I probably should have resigned 2 or 3 years earlier just to get a jump up on my career a little bit more. Because I started bodybuilding late. I started when I was about in my early 30s.
That's not very late for women, though.
That's true. Yeah, you're right about that.
Most women bodybuilders, their peak is in their 40s, really.
That's right. Yes,
men, it's all downhill after 40.
That's
women,
true.
it goes for some reason.
Yes. Hormones.
That's from what I understand. I mean, the majority of professional bodybuilders that I have interviewed for women have been over 40.
Sure. Oh, yes, of course. Yeah.
So you moved to the Netherlands and you're training full time with an IFBB Pro bodybuilder.
Yes, that's right.
And that's when you start doing, in the Netherlands is when you start doing session wrestling.
That's right.
Okay. So
I did a little bit more before that in the United States, but more full time when I was in the Netherlands.
Okay. How did you break into session wrestling and hold on and embrace it so early on?
That's a really good question. I think about it all the time. The way I look at it, it's, when I first started out, I was wrestling people. I could always recommend 5 other women when I was wrestling, 5 other session girls. And I would always ask for references from people. And I'd say, well, who have you wrestled so far? And they would name a few people. And I would say, okay, I know how hard I have to go with this person. And it was purely an athletic pursuit at the time. It had absolutely nothing to do with fetish. It wasn't fetish as a bodybuilder as fetish. It wasn't wrestling as fetish. It wasn't femdom as fetish. It was pure, good, clean, pure fun. It was just wrestling hardcore. And I got my ass handed to me several times.
Session wrestling in a hotel room.
Yes.
You're going to tell me it was just for...
I'm serious. I mean, I can't lie about it. It was a lot of... just wrestling hardcore and people, I was kind of intimidated at first because I was thinking, these guys are going to try to kill me or they're going to try to hurt me or what are they going to try to do to me? When you're going behind closed doors with someone you don't know, most people would view that as sketchy, as did I at the time.
Yeah. Which is why it's difficult to to believe that it was just for the athletic purposes. You don't know who you're wrestling.
It's never just about the athletic purposes. The
it's
guy
in
probably
the
went
hotel
home
room
and fantasized about it. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that.
But what drew you to it? Was it
what drew me to it was the pure.
Was it the easy money, or was it?
It was both. It was a little bit of everything. I thought, this was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing that, and the guy was paying me, really good money to do this. I was like, I started out at $500 an hour. I was like,
yeah,
wow,
okay,
this is great.
That's
so. I mean, and that was already back in those days. Even 20 years ago, they were still charging maybe $200-300 an hour for wrestling session.
Right.
And maybe even further back, it was only like $100-200. But I said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to get behind closed doors with somebody that might have BO or might not be the nicest body or whatever.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to charge premium for this. So no, it was a little bit of both. I have to be honest about that. And it was fun. And I thought, wow, I can support myself. As you've mentioned in some of your other interviews, some of the other past female bodybuilders, you figure out, well, you either got to have a great job, you got to have a good support system, husband, girlfriend, whatever, or you have to, do personal training, or you do session wrestling or webcam, or, you do your video work and whatnot. Right. And you kind of find where you fit in this industry. And I found quickly where I fit in after the session wrestling. And then I figured, well, I'm pretty strong. I could do this lift and carry stuff. And I can't complain about it as long as I keep it to, I usually pick up guys anywhere between, if I can find guys that weigh 100, a little bit over 100, to up to about 150, 160, 165. I don't like to push it beyond that because you can start tweaking elbows, wrists, tendons, joints, things like that.
Okay. So when you started doing the session wrestling, were you still competing in bodybuilding, or you said, you know what, I'm just going to do this full time? I started, yes, I was concurrently doing it. And that's how most of our fans meet us, is at bodybuilding shows. And when bodybuilding went away, for lack of better words, more or less, the past, over the past 10 years. And it did. Women's bodybuilding did go away. Yeah.
Thanks to Jake Wood.
Exactly.
Jake Wood and a few other sponsors. Luckily it came back, but that's kind of how, people used to meet us. And so now I think the online, the OnlyFans, clips for sale, personal private websites, that was really now our only way to actually come into contact with our fans. Right.
So you're doing these session wrestling, you're making good money, you're still competing in bodybuilding. When do you decide, I'm going to give up bodybuilding? You go, you know what? I'm kind of done with that.
It was right around 2008, 2009.
Now, by the time you get to 2008, 2009, are you embracing other fetish type things, or are you still just doing the wrestling?
Mostly wrestling and the lift and carry and Femdom, which is, fantasy wrestling, female domination, that kind of thing.
So by this point, you're kind of embracing the whole fetish world. Okay.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Explain what lift and carry is, because I've actually never had a girl explain what that is. I mean, I know what it is. I mean,
lift and carry is, it's when you lift someone and there's so many different types of lifts. There's cradle carry, there's over the shoulder, there's fireman's carry. I specialize in overhead lifts with small men and small women, 2-hand overhead lift, like an overhead press, military press kind of thing. And I do a 1-arm overhead lift with females that are right around 100 pounds. I do like a 1-arm lift.
You're very strong, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of strength, but it's also a lot of skill. You have to know how to lift someone. And I started learning how to do these lifts when I went for a kettlebell certification way back about 12 years ago. And my coach, I think they were trying to figure out who was going to get me, because I think they had Googled me and they thought, who's going to get Amber and what are they going to do with her? So my coach, who trained me in kettlebell, taught me the 1-arm overhead. It's kind of like a snatch, a kettlebell snatch or Turkish get-up type lift. But I take it, the person's standing, and then they get into position, I overhead press them. But it's a lot of technique. In fact, it's kind of funny that you ask about, the technique and the strength. I'm really good friends with one of the world's strongest men. His name's Dimitar Savnatov, and he's got the world record in his 1-arm overhead press. And he can press people, not people. He can press people, but he pressed the 1-arm dumbbell press for like 315.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And he called me one time, and
that was at the Arnold Classic. Am I right?
Yeah, it was the honor
Yeah,
class.
yeah, I
You're
saw
right.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good memory. Good memory, because this was quite a while ago. This was about 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, I
But he
remember
asked
that.
me about my technique because he was a strongman in the circus before he became really famous as a world-class strongman.
Really? What is it? 1922? Who the hell does that
Well,
anymore?
over in Bulgaria and in Eastern Europe, they probably do it more than we do over here. Like, what
Holy
do we have?
shit.
Women Daily Circus, and you don't see them come around anymore. But
They have the fat woman over there too. Holy.
I know, if they had a strong woman circus, I did a circus act in one of my videos a few years ago, and that sold really well. It was a really cool thing. But if there was strong women in the circus, you could bet I'd be in there.
Yeah. Okay, so you're basically embracing not only you're embracing it, but you're actually like you're not just doing it to like make extra money. This becomes your world.
Yes, it's a full-time endeavor, and it's my passion, it's my love.
This becomes your world. Now,
Right.
I'm going to ask you. All right, so we're going to get into the Femdom, but I want to ask you some personal questions. You said you were married, and you said you're married again.
No, I was divorced about 15 years ago, almost, not close to 20 years ago, but we were still the best of friends, and I've dated on and off in between.
So you're not married now?
No.
Okay.
I just kept the Deluca, like Denise Messino kept Messino.
Well, that's a great Italian name. You can't.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like when you carve your niche in the world of where you're at, you don't really want to change your name because
that's 100% right, because that's what Tina Turner did.
Yeah,
that's right. That's a great scene in the movie. Did you ever see that scene?
Which movie was it?
It was What's Love Got to Do with It?
Oh no, I haven't seen it.
Are you serious? Oh, you gotta watch it.
My gosh,
because you know the story about Tina Turner and Ike Turner,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Right. So when they got divorced, she said, "The only thing I want is the last name. I don't want anything else. She could have everything." And he freaked out. And he freaked out in the courtroom. And it was like the best decision that she ever made.
That's pretty cool. Yeah,
that was a great movie. You should definitely watch it.
I will. Yeah.
Okay, so the personal question I want to ask you is how does this affect your private life, like your relationship with your husband or boyfriends or family members, but specifically mostly your husband and boyfriends? And then how did you explain this to, family like mom, dad, brothers,
right,
so on and so forth?
Well, okay, those are really good questions, because without a doubt, I think women that are into any type of adult work, there's a price to pay in your personal life.
I agree.
And your professional life and in your public life.
Right. I agree.
So I'm very conservative about who I tell. I mean, I know exactly.
You're on a podcast, thousands of people.
I know. I don't mind that. I don't mind, because you're interested. I don't just blurt it out. I'm not kind of like, I don't just say I'm a porn star. I don't say things like that, because I think there's people that are porn stars, there's people that are fetish stars. I consider myself more of a fetish type star, because the things that I do aren't necessarily hardcore sex scenes. I've done sex scenes before, obviously, but I mean, it's not exactly where my true talents lie. Let's put it that way. I'm no slouch in bed, but I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're looking at it strategically, you're right. I mean, any girl could be a porn star, just lay there and take it, right? But you, you actually have, for lack of a better term, a talent where you can do these session wrestling and lifting carries and whatever.
Well, when I first started doing this, John, I started out looking at Denise Messino, and I thought, wow, she understands the whole, fetish and the whole concept of female bodybuilding being beautiful, and she embraces it, and she's got kind of like, used to be kind of the Playboy of women's bodybuilding, but it kind of evolved into a little bit more like Penthouse, for lack of a better comparison. Right. So I thought, wow, she really embraces it, and she really took the bull by the horns, and she just took it. And I thought, that's what I'm going to do. But I have to figure out, I always tell girls that enter this industry, I always say, first of all, understand where your true talents lie, and then produce that and keep producing that. And if you like it and your fans like it, well, then you've hit pay dirt, because there's nothing better than producing things that your fans like and you can make a living at it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's get back to the question that I asked. How did it affect your relationship with your husband and then boyfriends afterwards?
For my husband, it wasn't really it wasn't a leap at all. I mean, he totally embraced. In fact, he encouraged me to do it. He taught me how to do some jujitsu and how to defend myself and that kind of thing. So he's always supported me and pushed me, and he still does to this day. And boyfriends, they knew what they were signing up for. Let's put it that way. It certainly did.
So you do tell them up front.
Yes.
You go, hey, look, this is what I do. If you're uncomfortable with it, then we can't.
Exactly.
Okay.
Life is too short to hide.
That's the approach you have to take. You can't. What kind of relationship would you have if you hid it? If you were like,
that's true.
It would be horrible. Okay. So now one more personal question, and then I'll move on. What about family, like mother, father, brother, sisters? How did they take it?
Well, both of my parents have passed, but they did know what I was doing before they passed. And my dad asked me one time, this was probably about 15, 20 years ago. He says, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, "Well, Dad," I said, I pretty much everything I've explained to you so far about the session wrestling and the Femdom and videos and things like that and lift and carry. It was totally, my dad was born in the 30s, so this is totally beyond his scope of understanding. So He said, "Well," scratches his head kind of thing, "whatever. I guess you do pretty well, right?" I said, "Yeah, Dad, I do okay." And so it was okay. He just wanted to make sure that I was safe and I could take care of myself.
Yeah.
I think.
Let's back up. I apologize because I love getting to the meat of why somebody enters a world like this. Because this is when a woman enters a world like this, even though the majority of them want to believe that it's not going to affect them personally, it is going to.
Sure.
It is going to. There are men that are not going to accept it.
Everything we do in life has a ripple effect.
Absolutely. There are men that are not going to want to accept it. There are friends that aren't going to want to accept it.
Right.
So on and so forth. That's why I have respect for people that embrace it wholly.
Right.
I think if you saw with Brandy May, I discussed how I admired her because she embraced it. What I don't respect is somebody like Lana Rhodes who goes on her own podcast and cries and plays the victim and says, "I can't believe I did things like that." And it's like, you wouldn't have the following you had right now if you didn't do things like that.
Right.
And nobody put a gun to your head to do it.
Sure.
Right.
Well, I think people as human beings, we go through different stages of our lives. And perhaps she was less mature at the time and she probably
then just own it. I did stupid shit.
I understand what you're saying.
I did a stupid shit when I was a kid.
We all?
And if it comes up, it comes up. If you ever watch my panel discussion with the bodybuilders, I'm so transparent. I tell them all these things I did in my past because it's entertaining, because it's funny. But anyway, let's get back to you. Tell me what your childhood was like and your relationship with your dad, because you're the first girl that I had on that embraces this community, this fetish community, and embraces it, and had a dad growing up.
Well, my father, I was adopted. I'm Native American. I was given up for adoption at birth. Okay. So I was in foster care until I was probably 6-7 months old. Okay. So I don't know. I don't have a memory prior to that, but they say things happen when you're a child and it's deeply ingrained, but I don't have any memory, a recollection of anything prior to my adoption. So I had a very good upbringing. I grew up in a small town in Ohio called Peninsula, Ohio, between Akron and Cleveland. And I had both parents. They were great parents. I had a great relationship with my mother and my father. Kind of a contentious relationship with my mother because we were both kind of alpha and we argued a lot. And she didn't like me being I started wanting to be a bodybuilder when I was 12 years old, when Rachel McLish was, first coming out. And so my mother always said, "Amber Ann, young ladies don't do that." And so
she wanted you to be more feminine.
She wanted me to be not only more feminine, but she wanted me to stay at home, be a housekeeper, be a homemaker kind of person.
And that wasn't your direction.
And I want to just be outside on my bike playing with the boys. I said, okay. She said, just
not
cut
for
out
everybody.
She just told me, lay out this blouse, cut out this blouse. She wanted me to learn how to sew better, which to this day, I'm not a very good seamstress, but my true talents lie elsewhere, shall we say. But, she wanted me to be more of a traditional kind of woman. And my father always said, I had a really good relationship with my father because I identified more with my father. My father was a photographer back in the 50s and 60s. And he took like Playboy style photos of women. So he also went to school. Now it makes sense. Okay. He went to school in New York City for photography, and then he went into the army and was a photographer. So
he was very open-minded. He was very artsy.
He was a true Playboy in New York City back in the 60s.
Okay. 50s. So that now it makes sense. Okay.
So he always kind of he didn't mind me doing the bodybuilding so much, whereas my mom did.
Yeah.
But my father always said one thing, and this will always stick with me. So you can take it or leave it for what it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
He always said, there's a double standard in this world, and women get judged differently than men. And I just said, I just sneered at that. I said, whatever, in my mind, I said, okay, Dad, okay, whatever you say.
Well, especially back then when we were growing
Sure.
up, because I think you're around my age.
70s,
Yeah.
70s.
Oh, so you're a little bit older than me.
Yeah.
So back then, especially today, it's a different. It's a little bit different. Women are embrace whatever.
There's a lot of different societal standards and norms, and the culture is different now than when it was when I grew up.
When you were growing, yes, you were 100% right.
Me being defiant was going, working out in the gym class or working out during my study period or something, that was me being defiant back in those days. Like these days, young girls are involved in CrossFit and weight training at a young age. So, Totally. So with my father, when he told me that, it kind of, maybe shall we say, molded me in a way where I was defiant in the respect that I'm a woman and I can do whatever I want, girl power, Title IX was just coming into vogue. I mean, women started to get more equal opportunity in sports. I went to college on a volleyball scholarship in the late 80s.
And you graduated college?
Yeah, in Erie, Pennsylvania. I graduated with a communications English degree.
Okay.
And then I went into the military after that, and I was in the Air Force for a few years.
So you were really all over the map.
Got my master's degree in that, and that's what helped me get the position.
You're from the time you were born till you were, let's say, 30. You were all over the place.
Pretty much, but I was took a traditional path in my career. So you figure I went to college, graduated, went into the military, got my master's degree, got a federal position, and then from 98 till about 2006 is when I was working for the government. And then after that, after I started bodybuilding, like you said, in Pandora's box, I put it all to rest on Bill Dobbin's shoulders. He's the one that told me to get involved in bodybuilding. Okay. And that everything else is a segue, gateway.
Right. Yeah, it's very interesting knowing how a person grew up and putting the pieces together and seeing how they are today. Because if the roles were reversed and you were interviewing me and you saw how I was as a person, and then I would told you how I grew up, you'd be like, that makes sense. Yeah. So let's get into the juicy stuff now.
Okay.
Because you said you did Femdom and you did full hardcore porn.
Yeah.
What made you make those decisions? And well, let's start there. What made you decide I'm going to do Femdom and do hardcore porn? Why didn't you stop at session wrestling and carry? What is it called?
Lift and carry.
Lift and carry.
Why didn't I stop there?
Yeah.
Well, it was just seemed to be a natural progression to add eroticism to the lift and carries. I thought, well, there's only so much you can do with a lift and carry. I mean, a lift and carry lasts a couple seconds, so I'm trying to stretch things out to 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes on video to make money. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, I may as well cater to the masses of who really wants to see this. And these are my fans. And I learned a lot from my fans. I learned a lot about lift and carry, about what they like about it, what's cool about it, Mm-hmm. And I still don't quite understand, to be honest with you. I still don't quite understand why people really like it.
I don't get it.
I think it has a lot to be psychological with perhaps the nurturing aspect, or they feel comfortable or safe. Or it's just the wow aspect of it, like professional wrestling. I mean, why do millions of people go to attend a WWE match, or you know what I mean? Yeah, wrestling is huge.
Not so much anymore.
When China was wrestling.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. It is.
China was my idol. I loved her.
Yeah. Well, not toward the end of her career, but
no, I know it was a shame.
A real tragedy. Really was.
It really was. In fact, she made me angry in a way that I thought, why doesn't she do porn like I do? She should do stuff like I do. I mean,
very good point. Yeah, right.
She was so submissive. But, a lot of times people that portray as a dominant alpha person, they really aren't. I mean, that has to be something that's kind of in your heart and soul, and you have to it's in your DNA. And I think perhaps she wasn't necessarily an alpha person, so she did the submissive porn.
Yeah, everybody likes to throw this alpha around, and alpha basically is code for masculine. I mean, let's be real, right? Okay. When you're talking about a woman, anyway.
Well,
when a woman says alpha, that's code for a woman that likes to do more masculine things.
Not necessarily.
Then how would you explain it?
I would say alpha female means someone that's the leader of the pack. It's like there's alpha females in wolf packs, right? You've heard of that before. You've never heard that.
No. But
okay,
but as a human being, there are no alpha leaders of a pack. I mean, what pack do you lead?
Human beings, other human beings.
Yeah, but who? Do you have a family? Do you have
you
have children?
Well, me.
Yeah.
You're talking about me personally.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say that I would characterize myself as an alpha female in the regard that people I come in contact with, my fans, the clients, people that I'm associating with, they look to that position of leadership that a male would traditionally occupy. So it's almost kind of, I'm not saying you're sexist or chauvinistic or misogynistic or anything like that. I'm just saying it's a little bit closed-minded to think that a female can't be alpha. I mean, there's females that are in the military that are leaders, that are, high-ranking officers or high-ranking in the field of what they do. There's doctors, there's lawyers, there's people in different professions in all walks of life that lead in what they do. So to me, alpha typically just means leader of something, or the dominant one. The one
which is exactly more of a masculine role.
Well, I think today in this day and age, you have to be careful about
let's be
masculine and feminine roles.
I don't really care about being
I know that
politically correct.
I understand that, but
what you just explained, being a leader, right?
Yeah.
Or being a leader and being dominant
right.
is more of a masculine role, right? Like earlier on, you said your mom wanted you to be more traditionally feminine and be home and be a single.
And my father said women get judged differently than men.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.
So that's why I say when a woman says alpha, it is really code for being more in a masculine role, and a masculine role is to be a leader and more.
From your perspective, and probably from my perspective, the way I grew up,
it
would fit that definition. It would fit your definition of a more masculine role.
Right.
I would argue that I could take both positions, but I understand what you're saying. Yeah, from the way I was raised, alpha is definitely more masculine.
Right. Yeah. It is. I mean, like, we don't have to beat around.
Yeah, we don't have to split hairs on it.
No. Yeah. Right. And we don't have to beat around the bush because it is more basically that's what when.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with it. If that's the life if the life and path that you choose, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Right. Sure. I basically, my motto is live and let live. I really don't.
Right. I agree with that
right?
too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, let's get off that crap and let's get into more
fun stuff.
Let's get into some fun stuff. Again, you have done Femdom, right? Okay, explain what Femdom is and explain how far you took it. I mean, as far as like actually, the details.
Right. I've done Femdom in both my professional and personal life. And professional life meaning Femdom is basically what we characterize as where a female dominates the male. That's in session wrestling. That's in lift and carry. That's in maybe perhaps some sort of role play or something like that, where the guy, maybe he's a traditionally powerful masculine alpha male and he wants to be in the passenger seat for a while. So he might say, hey, you know what? Just do your thing or whatever. Or there might be something more scripted, like a role play or something like that. Mm-hmm. So Femdom to me traditionally means where the woman prevails. She's the winner. She's the alpha. Okay. And it took me a while to get comfortable with that, John. To be honest with you, I really didn't quite get it or understand it. I mean, this was no easy transition for me to make from my childhood to my adulthood into making these videos and films with this kind of stuff, because I was kind of uncomfortable with a lot of this stuff because I'm thinking, women don't do this. This is totally unnatural for me to do. But it soon became more natural for me once I understood it more. And once I traveled the world a little bit more and got to know people a little bit better, I kind of understood the role in which they were seeking from me as an alpha or dominant person, or back to the term Femdom. I think some people might be more comfortable with Femdom because it just means feminine domination. Okay.
So what exactly would that entail?
That would mean perhaps in session wrestling, it would be like where I beat him every time, or I'm actually truly stronger than a lot of people. So what'll happen is I'll let them get a win or they'll get a fall, against me. And then I'll let them try to pin me down and I'll try to get out of it. Mm-hmm. So typically in wrestling type scenarios, it's where I'm totally pinning them and submitting them time after time after time. Mm-hmm. And some people are really into that, really like being totally dominated, submitted.
Okay.
And so that's wrestling, lift and carry. I just take them and lift them every way they can imagine.
Okay.
And then even further on to strap-on play and things like that, where men want to be penetrated, and I think that's kind of a deep, dark fantasy of a lot of men, but they're afraid to admit it. They may not want to admit it to their girlfriend or their wife, or anyone for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
So because they can consider that as being kind of beta or a bitch, or less than alpha. And we're talking about seriously alpha males that like some alpha males that really enjoy this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So are these guys professionals, or are they people that just pay you because they want to do these fantasies?
Both. Yeah, there's I would say there's a little bit of both. There's people that really just yearn to they crave this kind of session. They crave on a deep level, and they can't find it anywhere. And it's very hard to find someone that's caring and nurturing that also can fulfill fantasies like this.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I could totally understand that. There are,
and take it, and not laugh, take it
no,
serious.
It's true. Listen, men's fantasies and women's fantasies are completely different. Men take it to a place that nobody's ever, it's like scary.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I hear that.
I work with a lot of guys, and they don't talk about these things. And if it comes up, they automatically, that's disgusting. I would never do that. But
right.
But there's too many guys that I work with, because I'm a sewer worker in New York City.
Sure. Yeah.
And in my head, I'm going, no, there's somebody here that likes this shit. There's like 65 of us. Right.
Chances are you're right.
Yeah. And
Absolutely
the proof is in the pudding, because when I have girls on like you, or like Brandy, or like Alicia, or Nikki Jackson, that is almost the majority. That is almost my highest view videos.
Oh, I can imagine.
So
because it's a rarity to find women like us. I mean, it's not like we're walking around every day.
No, you're 100% true. It is a very niche market, and like I said, my respect for people embracing it fully, right, is like that is my pet peeve. When somebody makes a decision, a conscious decision to do something, and then tries to say, "Oh no, I never wanted to do that." It's totally not respectful. So when somebody like yourself comes on and you go, "No, like I really wanted to do this," the level of respect that I give you now is I can't explain it. It's I just hold you in high regard.
Well, I really appreciate that, because a lot of people, there's a lot of people out there that don't, or I wouldn't say a lot. I mean, but I get my fair share of haters. But if you're doing something right, you'll get your fair share of haters.
Yeah. But here's the difference, right? Here's what I mean. Somebody says to you, "Oh, that's horrible. How can you do that?" And your answer would be, "Mind your business," or "I do what I want to do." Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that too. You asked for it. Yeah. I don't care what you think. This is what I chose to do in my life, or something like that. To me, that you own it, and there's respect.
That's
there.
right.
When you start going, "Oh no, I don't do things like, no, I would never do something like that," and then like there's a video of you doing it. It's like
right.
It's like ridiculous. Yeah. Okay, so you were doing Femdom. And then you make this decision where you are going to do full hardcore porn.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of a big leap.
And I have to believe every step pays better and better.
Right, and it does.
All right, good.
And at least it helps the storyline development. You know what I mean? Because I'm trying to produce things that are, when I shoot a scene, it's basically, it's very formulaic. It's very similar to what the adult industry does when their money shot is the cum shot. All right. My money shot is the overhead lift. My money shot might be the blowjob at the end of the lift and carry. Okay, so those are the money shots.
So wait a minute, let me get this straight. If I let you lift and carry me, I get a BJ at the end?
Maybe not at the end, maybe during the lift and carry.
Wow.
That adds extra element of strength and difficulty. Let me tell you that.
Once you throw in BJ, I might be all in.
Oh, I love your sense of humor. Reality, whatever you want to call it. I like that.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Well, it draws in more people. So you figure most guys, who wants to turn down a good blowjob, right? I mean, most people are willing to have a nice blowjob. So not only am I good at that, I was actually #1 at one point on some of my videos. I kind of do like the behind the scenes data crunching about what sells most for me on Clips for Sale. And I actually had some of the top 5 in blowjobs. So I was like, wow, like
really?
a muscle girl is doing hardcore fetish, extreme domination, femdom, wrestling, that you would consider, well, she does this fetish stuff. She doesn't not into blowjobs or hardcore sex. And it was I was like kind of flattered as a lady, you know. I was like, wow, I got some skills, you know.
That's pretty good. Okay, I'll say. Listen, if they're gonna
tell you, taking a really big one, deep throat, while you have your shoulders. That is not easy, my friend.
All right, so you went there. How big is a big one?
I would say big for me is like 9-10 inches. That's like a little above average.
I'm leaving. A little above average, you think? Jesus Christ! Do you know what average in the United States is?
I think it's like 4 or 5 inches.
I think it's 5.5.
Average for me is like 7.
Yeah, you animal.
If you're back at 7, I think you're really good.
All right. So, okay. And now is it interracial or?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I have quite a few of my male models out of New York City. As a matter of fact, I've got a handful of them that have been with me over the years, and they filmed quite a bit. In fact, I bring them out to Albuquerque and we do some outdoor scenes, and a lot of times we'll be on horseback, or like we've done some interesting themes where I'm Native American. Well, I'm Native American, but I do a Native American theme where I'm horseback and I dress them up in costume, full regalia. I mean, we're talking, this is like a
they really go
production.
They really go all in for a blowjob, huh? do you are they like I gotta wear what? They're like, all right, yeah, I got a blowjob at the end of this. Give me the
sometimes
costume.
It's a little questionable. But when I put some of these guys through, sometimes it's a little. They're enduring. They take it like a trooper, though.
So the BJ at the end is like you know
the icing on the cake.
Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, I'll get on the horse. Fuck it.
That's worth the price of admission for most of these guys.
All right, not bad.
As you vouched for.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Are you kidding? You know, any guy. Listen, it is okay. I'm gonna give you my philosophy on oral sex. And I've explained this to my wife, but she doesn't get it. She doesn't get it. And I tell her, be a whore for you.
Right.
Don't be a whore for me.
Right.
I know the difference.
Oh, guys know the difference for sure.
I can absolutely tell, right? But she God bless her soul, she tries.
Yeah. Oh, John, I don't know about
you. But listen, because you don't understand. Like, people don't get it. Like, when a woman really, and it's the same thing as a man. Like, when a man loves giving oral, it's a huge difference as a guy who's going through the stages to get to have sex, right?
Yes,
and it's the same thing with oral sex with a woman. And the truth of the matter is, it's most women do it because the guys like it, right? Which means it'll be mediocre.
That's true.
It's true. When the girl likes it,
pretty much true. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. So okay. So all right. So continue. So you have regulars that come out to Albuquerque. You throw them on a horse. You put them in an eating outfit. And at the end,
with oral sex.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Back to
all right. So we'll go back to the
oral. They come out and we play. They usually come out for several days because my cameraman's he works in mainstream film, so he works in special cameras. He's like a real trooper. He gets out there like a lizard in the desert, and he takes all the footage and everything from different angles, and he's great. But I'm very fortunate to have him. But these are pretty big productions, and I kind of made the move to hiring my own cameraman when I came back from Las Vegas. This was around 2013. I met him in 2014, and we never looked back. And we started my documentary in 2014. So
okay, very
cool. We're working on finishing it, but yeah, we've done a lot of projects together, and I'm very, very fortunate to have him. His name's Alexander Paul.
Okay, very nice.
Some of his work too, but
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to ask you what I ask everybody, and I get a little bit of different answer. Actually, the most of the girls give me the same answer. Okay. So what is the line for you? What is like, I am not doing that, no fucking way?
I have to do with what they call water sports, like golden showers, where you'd be like urinating on someone.
And you're urinating
right.
on someone, not getting
anything
urinated
where
on.
it involves,
Human feces. Yes.
yeah, that's definitely out for me. I've had people beg me and pay, they offer big money and all this and everything. Like, you know what? It's not something I would enjoy.
So somebody actually wants to pay you.
Yeah.
To take
money, big money. Yeah.
That's
and I don't know what happened in their childhood or what.
Me neither. Holy shit.
But I mean, that I am judgmental in that regard because I just don't. that's not something I would enjoy. And if I don't enjoy it, I'm not doing it. Bottom line.
Okay. All right. And now,
so it took me a while to figure out, like, if I could actually do certain things. Like, I never knew if I could do a strap-on scene with a guy. I'm like, this is like, I don't know if I could do this. This is, in my mind's eye when I was young and growing up, like, men. This isn't what men do. Thinking, it was a big stretch for me to be able to even just do something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so the barrier the certain taboo things are no longer taboo for me, but there's obviously certain things like urination, defecation, I just don't do. And an extreme hardcore beatdowns I don't do. I've had people say, I want you to draw blood. I want you to punch the living shit out of me and kick, like extreme ball busting. Like I can do some ball busting, but I'm not going to like crush the jewels to like oblivion. I mean, some people are really into that, and I just don't want to hurt people. I'm too nice for that. I mean, I'm a very gentle, kind person, and I'm a hardcore femdom kind of person. But
you had me at blowjob after that.
I love it. Yeah. So you kind of get the kind of person I am, but I'm not going to bloody somebody. And I mean, you can't pay me enough to break bones.
I can't. I tell you, man, this is why I love interviewing the girls that are in your world, because it's like the line. It doesn't stop.
No,
it just keeps going worse. I mean, I've had. I'm not going to mention names because one was off air, so I'm not going to mention it.
Sure. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. And because she didn't want to say it on air, which is fine.
Yeah.
And somebody was willing to pay her for her to be naked, put heels on, and step on a kitten and kill the kitten.
Oh, I heard you say that. I heard that interview. You told me.
And I was just
terrible.
I'm
such a cat lover. I would kill somebody even ask me that question.
I'm an animal person. Me and my wife are animal people. That's the one thing. Yeah,
especially cats. Oh, I have 4 cats.
Oh, okay.
I would annihilate somebody who would even ask something like that.
Yeah. And then another woman. Actually, she actually said this on air. Actually, but she doesn't do any of it. She doesn't do any fetish stuff. She's actually a veterinarian. Who was it? Jeannie? Yeah.
I saw that one.
Yeah, great human being.
Like, I think that was the very first interview I saw of yours.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because now she's a vet. She was
awesome.
Yeah, and I actually have a very old dog, and I text her. And I go,
did she give you some advice?
Yeah, she still does.
On the digestion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, really super smart human being. Like really. So she actually said that the weirdest thing that was asked of her was to get a 10-year-old girl and beat her. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and
that is really bizarre.
And she deleted it and blocked the person. So
children, animals, underage things. This is just totally out of line.
But the more it's just unbelievable. Like I am vanilla. I am straight vanilla. Yeah, I am straight vanilla when it comes to this stuff, man. It's just unbelievable. It actually makes me feel
myself vanilla.
Yeah, and actually,
I consider myself
you are not vanilla. You are certainly not vanilla.
Well, what flavor am I? If I'm
you are Napolitan. That's what you are. You're all 3 flavors: chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. Yeah, you are certainly not. I am. Yeah, like I always thought like that. I had strange like fetishes and stuff. But they're not. I've come to find out that they're not fetishes. They're just things that I like.
They're preferences.
Like,
in fact, I like to look at things as more preference and fetish.
Right.
Fetish is only. Let me define fetish for you too. Mm-hmm. Fetish is at the exclusion of, like, say for instance, somebody wants to like do muscle worship, and all they can get off on is a bicep. If you're not flexing that bicep, he's not getting off. That is a hardcore fetish. Now, and then at the expense of the sexual pleasure of the woman. So if the guy is just like saying, okay, that's sex for me, or the lift and carry, that's sex for me. I mean, believe me, I've encountered a lot of people in my day that it's truly a fetish for them. But it's also for as equally as many, I think it's a preference, like perhaps what you're going down the road saying, you have certain preferences of things that you like.
Yeah.
Some people like muscular fit girls. Some people like blonde women. Some people like brunettes. Some people like redheads. It's a preference.
Yeah. Here's the difference though. And I'm sure you probably know this already. Men can have preferences, but the majority of men don't have the ability to be as selective for those preferences. Does that make sense?
I agree, because I think that men are hardwired differently than women.
Yeah, well, it's not only that. It's most men, and they'll lie till the day is dawn. Right? They will lie. Most men have a difficult time getting women.
I would say for the most part, it's men have to work more.
Yeah.
So I would say,
and absolutely.
Women 100%. Select, females select.
Absolutely.
In nature 100%. And in
so it's a lot. So when I talk to guys, especially the guys at work, like I'm around regular dudes all the time,
right?
Regular blue collar family guys we're working in the sewer, and we'll talk about our preferences. And then I'll say that I'll go, you realize that these are just preferences, but in real life, you would not throw anybody out of bed, right?
Right.
Yeah, like you would just love the fact that somebody else wants to have sex with you besides your wife.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, I wouldn't. Yeah, I'm like, bull.
You're onto something, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm like, there was this one guy. He was a really nice guy. He's retired now, so I could talk about him because he's not watching this. His name was Joe. I won't give you his last name.
Okay.
And he had this big, giant pot belly. He was an Italian guy from the Bronx. This huge belly. And in my job, we actually have paid time to shower and get changed because we work in the sewer. So what happens is we take our street clothes off, we put them in our locker, and then we put our work clothes on. And there's actually washers and dryers there. And we wash and dry the work clothes there. And at the end of the day, so I see him, right? We see everybody naked. So he's got like man tits. They got hair on him, right? He got hair on him. He's got this huge belly. He's got hair on it. Like, and he was like proud of his belly. Like he would, this giant, one of these bellies where he's able to rest his hands on it. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So one day, this is a few years back, like, I don't know, a while back, 8-9 years ago, I'm sitting there. It's called Shape Up. Shape Up is when you're waiting for your supervisor to tell you what you're going to be working on that day. So one of who are the tennis sisters? Who are the two tennis sisters? The two.
Serena and
exactly. Serena Williams.
Yeah.
Okay. Serena Williams wins some big tennis thing. And I don't know what it is. I don't follow tennis, but she wins some big tennis tournament. And there's a picture of her in the back of, it was the Daily News.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of her in the back and she's in her tennis gear and she's athletic and looking good and everything. And she's got the racket in her hand and whatever. And my friend Joe, another Joe. This is not fat, hairy Joe. This is the other Joe.
Not Joe, man boob Joe.
Yeah. Joe, my friend Joe says to me, "Hey, John, would you have sex with?" I was like, "Absolutely. No question about it."
Who wouldn't?
Yeah. Well, a lot. Anyway, yeah. So then he asks fat, hairy boob Joe,
"Yeah,
would you have sex with?" And he's like, "No way. She looks like a man." And I'm like, "Oh my god!"
No.
I'm like,
"Oh, he's not going down that road."
Yeah, and I'm like,
looks like a woman.
And I'm saying to myself, and I said to him, "Joe, you would totally have sex with her. If she was laying in your bed with her legs spread open, you would be on top." No way I wouldn't. And then here's the sad part. And here's where I get a little bit too real and a little bit too, I don't say it to anybody. I just say it to myself.
Okay. You can tell me.
Yeah, I will. And everybody else listening to this. And then I meet his wife and I go, how dare you have the audacity to be selective? Because he was married to like an elephant.
No. Beggars can't be choosers, as they say.
Exactly. So that's what I mean by like men have preferences, but very rarely can they actually be selective to those preferences.
That is true.
Yeah.
So true.
All right. Let's plug your stuff. Your website is goddessoffetish.com.
Right. And that's being revamped at the moment, but it'll be back up soon. I think it's offline at the moment, but it'll be back up.
Okay. So it'll be back up. You're revamping it. And now What about if people want to get in touch with you, Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram, they can, DM me there.
Okay. What is your Instagram?
It's Amber Deluca.
Amber Deluca. Okay.
That's my third Instagram. I think I got to make sure that's the right name.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Yeah, it really is. Like you're not the first woman to tell me.
No, it's like women in adult and fetish. We have a real hard time. But it's the Amber Deluca. I take that back.
Oh, so that's right. The Amber Deluca.
It was Amber Deluca at one point in time, but the Amber Deluca.
I am going to make sure that Amber Deluca, the Amber Deluca, the Instagram is in the description. I'm going to make sure the Goddess of Fetish is in the description, even though
we'll put my clips for sale store in there as well.
Okay, yeah. Well, you know what?
That's where most of my content is.
What is your clips for sale?
It's goddessoffetish.com.
Okay.
/clipsforsale.com. /23925. But I'll send it to you.
Yeah, send it to me so it could be in the.
Yeah.
So what are you still working out regularly? You still into fitness?
I still train because I'm back. I mean, COVID really hit us all hard. I'll tell you that. All the session girls and people that travel and people that make productions for a living. I usually hire girls in the adult industry and I fly them out here to Albuquerque, or I go to Vegas or go to LA to meet them. And my fans, they come to me. Like most of my male models are in New York and wherever they're at, they come to me in Albuquerque.
That is fantastic.
2018, it's probably been 2019 was my last travel. And I finally got back traveling this past September. I made a trip to New York City, and then I went to Rome, and then I went to London.
Oh, wow. Well, you have to tell me when you're in New York, because I will. Definitely, because I am literally. No, absolutely. We can go grab dinner or lunch. That'd be great. I am 30 minutes from New York City. That's why I work in New York City every day. Yeah. Okay. Well, I grew up in New York, and now I am in New Jersey. But
you grew up in Brooklyn?
Originally it was Brooklyn, and then my teenage years we had moved to Staten Island.
Okay, yeah, I remember hearing that. And
my friggin' accent, I can't escape it.
You can't get rid of that, John.
So do you think I'll have fans like you when I'm on muscular development? I'm hoping.
You might. You might.
The first person that wants to take a picture with me, I'm going to be like, yes.
I think there's a good chance, John. I hope
so. Well, listen, Amber, it has been
doing all these interviews with all these ladies. I'm sure you'll have a pretty good following. I mean, you're like the very first guy that I've seen in the bodybuilding industry that actually has interviewed a wide variety of people, and I really respect that.
Thank you very much. And well, I'm a fan and always was a fan of bodybuilding, period.
Sure.
So, and I don't mean this, and this was not like, there are people that have YouTube channels, but it's purely like a fetish thing.
Right.
Where I like talking about the fetish because that's what people are interested in. Right. But I was always just a fan of bodybuilding, period. Yeah. I admired the girls as much as I admired the men. And I'll go one step further. I'll go one step further. If you talk about the top 10 bodybuilders that ever lived, period. Mm-hmm. Actually, I'll even go one step further. If you talk about the top 5 bodybuilders that ever lived, period, you have to put Iris Kyle in there.
Iris Kyle's number one in my
book. Have to. Nobody has ever won 10 Olympiads.
She's the greatest bodybuilder of all time.
Yeah. If you statistically, absolutely.
Yes.
Nobody has ever won 10 Olympiads. That's right. And I don't even know how many
international.
I don't even know how many
at least half
Arnold Classics. Yeah, I don't even know how many Arnold Classics she's
won. A lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So people say Ronnie and Schwarzenegger and Jay Cutler and whatnot, but they never throw her in the mix. And I
have a hard time dealing with that too. And I'm so glad you mentioned that because I think she's underrepresented in the bodybuilding industry.
Yeah. Well,
she coached Saskia, my friend that lived in the Netherlands. She coached her, for her first pro bodybuilding show. And Iris looked at me as I was coming through the door. She says, "Yes, ma'am. And what are we doing next?" Like she was asking me what show I was going to compete in. I said, "Nothing, Iris. I'm just doing my thing." And she was great though. She was a tough coach for Saskia.
Oh, I could only imagine what a workout with her would be like. I can only imagine. It can't. Yeah. I understand she's doing very well. She has a gym in Las Vegas with Hide now.
Yeah.
And one funny story, and then I'll let you go.
Sure.
Me and my wife went to the Olympia last year, and we did it specifically for my podcast because I was trying to get people to come on. So I was like, well, let's go to the Olympia. And then we made a vacation out of it. We went to like
Right.
Universal and whatnot and whatever. And we go to the expo and, you know, and we can't find it. We're in the building, but we can't find it. And there's two people walking toward me, and my wife just runs up to her, and I'm like trying to stop her, right? I'm trying to stop my wife,
Yeah.
and she's like, "Do you know where the Olympia Expo is?"
Because you knew it was Iris.
And it was Iris Kyle. And then I apologized for my wife. I said, "I'm sorry, Iris. My wife doesn't realize that she's talking to one of the greatest bodybuilders that ever lived." But she was nice enough. She's like, "No, just go down here, make a left,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah." You know?
Oh, that's a great story.
Yeah. Amber, thank you very much. Really, much love, much respect. And
thank you, John. Yeah, no, I appreciate the interview.
Absolutely. And like I said, anybody who embraces, their particular lifestyle and doesn't, play the victim or doesn't go back and say, I didn't want to do these things, I respect fully.
Thank you. And I respect you as well, because I've seen many men on YouTube and other channels, and I watch a lot. Mm-hmm. And I've never seen anybody as open or inquisitive as you. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much. That means a lot to me. I hope the MD thing is going to be a little bit different, but hopefully it drives people to my podcast, and then they could be as wonderful as you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
All right, Amber, have a good night. Okay.
Thanks. You take care, John.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.